Dear viewers, today we are going to see about ratio and proportion. In this chapter ratio and proportion, we are going to learn about arithmetical concepts like ratio and proportion, which we consciously or unknowingly use in our daily activities. If we buy a pen say for rupees 10 and a pencil for rupees 2, we say that the cost of a pen is 5 times the cost of a pencil. Divya is 5 years old while her sister is 10 years old. Her sister age is 2 times that of Divya and Divya's age is 1/2 the age of her sister. In the above cases, we are comparing two quantities of the same kind, that is cost in rupees and age years respectively. Therefore, the comparison of two quantities of the same kind by means of division is called as ratio. Therefore, ratio is a way to compare two or more quantities of the same kind. The ratio of two non-zero quantities A and B is written as A is to B. It is to be read as A is to B. The ratio is represented by the symbol is to. A and B are called the terms of the ratio. A is called as antecedent and B is called as consequent. The ratio is represented in numbers and it does not have any unit. Order in a ratio is very important because A is to B is different from B is to A. For example, there are 15 boys and 12 girls in a class. The ratio of boys to girls is 15:12, while the ratio of girls to the boys is 12:15. When two quantities A and B are compared, they must be in the same unit. For example, if A is equal to 1 meter 20 centimeter and B is equal to 90 centimeter, then A must be written as 120 centimeter and B is equal to 90 centimeter, and the ratio A is to B is 120:90. If the terms of a ratio have common factors, we can reduce it to the lowest term by cancelling the common factors. For example, the ratio of A is to B is 10:15. The common factor is 5 and we can rewrite it as 2:3. A student has 11 notebooks and 7 textbooks. Find the ratio of notebooks to that of textbooks. Number of notebook is equal to 11, number of textbooks is equal to 7. Therefore, the ratio of the notebooks to the textbook is equal to 11:7. Second is, the cost of a pen is rupees 8 and a cost of a pencil is rupees 250. Find the ratio of the cost of a pencil. Secondly, the ratio of a cost of a pencil to that of a pen. How can you solve this? The cost of a pen is equal to rupees 8, that is 8 rupees into 100 is equal to 800 paise. The cost of a pencil is equal to rupees 250, that is 250 into 100 is equal to 250 paise. The ratio of a cost of a pen to that of a pencil is equal to 800 divided by 250, that is equal to 16:5. Ratio of the cost of a pencil to that of a pen is 250 divided by 800, that is equal to 5:16. Let me discuss about equivalent ratios. Let us divide an apple into 8 equal parts and share it between Ramu and Somu in the ratio 2:6. The ratio 2:6 can be written as 2 divided by 6, that is equal to 1/3. We know that 2 divided by 6 and 1 divided by 3 are called as equivalent fractions. Similarly, we call the ratio 2:6 and 1:3 as equivalent ratios. From a given ratio A is to B, we can get equivalent ratios by multiplying the terms A and B by the same non-zero numbers. For example, 1 is to 2 is equal to 2 is to 4, that is equal to 3 is to 6. Another example is 3 is to 5 is equal to 9 is to 15. Write any equivalent ratios for 5 is to 7. The solution is the given ratio is equal to 5 is to 7, that can be written in the fractional form 5 divided by 7. Therefore, the equivalent ratios of 5 are 10 by 14, 15 by 21, 20 by 28, 25 by 35 and 55 by 77. Therefore, the equivalent ratios of 5 is to 7 are 10 is to 14, 15 is to 21, 20 is to 28, 25 is to 35 and 55 is to 77. Now coming to comparison of ratios. Since we can express ratios as a fraction, so any given ratio can be compared by the method used for fractions. Let us recall, when we had a compare fractions, we converted the fractions to have the same denominator. Now we are going to compare two ratios. Compare 3 is to 5 and 4 is to 7. We have to compare 3 divided by 5 and 4 divided by 7. For that, the LCM of the denominator 5 and 7 is 35. Therefore, 3 by 5 have to multiply it by 7 and 7, that is equal to 21 by 35, and 4 by 7 have to be multiplied by 5 by 5, that is equal to 20 divided by 35. Now we have to compare 21 by 35 and 20 by 35. Therefore, 21 by 35 is greater than 20 by 35. Therefore, 3 by 5 is greater than 4 by 7. Hence, 3 is to 5 is greater than 4 is to 7. Now, let us discuss about the proportion. When two ratios expressed in their simplest form are equal, they are said to be proportion. Proportion is represented by the symbol equal to or proportion. If the ratio A is to B is equal to the ratio C is to D, then A, B, C, D are said to be in proportion. Using symbols, we can write it as A is to B is equal to C is to D, or A is to B is proportion to C is to D. Now we shall show that 2 is to 3 and 8 is to 12 are in proportion. 2 is to 3 and 8 is to 12. Now we have to multiply the means, that is 3 into 8 is equal to 24 and the extremes 2 into 12 is equal to 24. In the above example, multiply 2 by 12 we get 24, multiply 3 by 8 we get 24. In a proportion, the product of extreme is equal to the product of means. Now coming to the application of proportion. You would have seen models, cars, aircrafts, house, etc. We see that their dimensions have been suitably reduced and they look exactly like the actual cars or aircrafts or buildings. How are the dimensions of this model calculated? Take your atlas and look at the map of India showing railway routes, or look at the road map of Chennai. We see that in the corner of the map it is written as scale 1 centimeter is equal to 200 kilometer. What does it mean? It means that if the distance between Chennai and Delhi is say 11 centimeter in the atlas, then the actual distance between the two cities is thus, we see that ratio and proportion have a number of applications. You can try and find many more examples of applications of ratio and proportion. Now, Try to find a few. Collect recipes of 2 dishes and find out how can you use them to explain ratio and proportion. Secondly, collect information about the height, weight, study hours and playtime of 2 of your friends and express in your data as ratios. Now coming to the points to remember, the comparison of 2 quantities of same kind is called a ratio. When the 2 terms of the ratios are multiplied by the same number, we get equivalent ratios. The equality of 2 ratios is called a proportion. In a proportion, the product of extreme is equal to product of means. If 2 quantities vary in the same ratio, then they are in direct variation. Now coming to convert a given ratio to its simplest form. To convert a given ratio A is to B to its simplest form, we have to divide each term by the HCF of A and B. For example, convert the ratio 40:25 in its simplest form. Now coming to the solution. HCF of 40 and 25 is 5. Therefore, 40:25 can be written as 40 divided by 25, that is equal to 40 divided by 5 divided by 25 divided by 5, that is 8 by 5. We can write it as 8:5. Hence, the simplest form of 40:25 is 8:5. Now coming to ratio in the simplest form. The ratio A:B is said to be in the simplest form if the HCF of A and B is 1. For example, the ratio 11:15 is in the simplest form since the HCF of 11 and 15 is 1. Secondly, the ratio of 15:20 is not in the simplest form since the HCF of 15 and 20 is 5 and not 1. Now coming to 4 numbers in a proportion. 4 numbers A, B, C, D are said to be in a proportion if A:B is equal to C:D, and we have to write it as A:B is proportion to C:D. We read it as A:B as C:D. Here A, B, C, D are respectively known as first, second, third and fourth term of the given proportion. The first and the fourth term are called the extreme terms or extremes. The second and the third term are called as middle terms or means. In a proportion A:B proportion to C:D, we always have A into D is equal to B into C. Therefore, the product of extreme is equal to product of means. For example, in 45:90 is proportion to 3:6, we have the product of extreme is equal to 45 into 6, that is equal to 270. The product of means, that is equal to 90 into 3, that is equal to 270. Therefore, the product of extreme is equal to product of means. In the above example, we have 4 numbers in proportion. Now coming to 3 numbers in proportion. 3 numbers A, B, C are said to be in proportion if A, B, B, C are in proportion. Therefore, A, B, C are proportion, that is A, B, B, C are in proportion. Therefore, A is to B is proportion to B is to C. Then we can written it as B squared is equal to AC. Now coming to an example, if 25, 35, x are in proportion, find the value of x. Coming to the solution, 25, 35, x are in proportion, therefore 25, 35, 35, x are in proportion. Therefore, 25 is to 35 is proportion to 35 is to x. Therefore, we can write it as 25 into x is equal to 35 into 35. Then we can write it as x is equal to 35 into 35 divided by 25. We get the answer x is equal to 49. Now, in summing up, what are the things we had seen so far? The ratio of two quantities in the same unit is a fraction that one quantity is of the other. A to B is a ratio A divided by B, and it can be written as A is to B. In the ratio A is to B, the first term is A and the second term is B. A ratio is said to be in a simplest form if the first and the second terms have no common factor other than 1. The ratio of two numbers is usually expressed in its simplest form. A ratio has no units in itself. An equality of two ratios is called a proportion if A is to B is equal to C is to D, and we can write it as A is to B proportion to C is to D. The number A, B, C, D are said to be in proportion if the first and the fourth term of a proportion are called the extreme terms or the extremes. Also, the second and the third term are called the middle term or means, and it should be equal, that the product of mean is equal to product of extremes. Three numbers A, B, C are said to be in proportion if A is to B is proportion to B is to C. I hope you all enjoyed this session. Thank you, students.